Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to take on a challenge. There was a post in the Bricks community about this website, this Elementor widget. Now this website was created in Elementor and these cards were done with Elementor widget, and someone asked in the Bricks group whether these can be done in Bricks, without any widget. And I said yes, it can be done with the Bricks settings controls. So he said he didn't think so, and I said okay, I'm going to give it a try and see if it is possible to do this in Bricks. So this is a challenge. So I want to see if I can build this in Bricks. I haven't done this before. This is not something I've practiced and then do a video on, unlike some of my other videos. And yeah, you got me. Anyway, this is my first time I'm doing this, so if I'm going to make mistakes, you're going to see the thought process and everything. So this is sort of like, can I build this in Bricks? Now let's take a look at this. Now this has very cool and awesome hover effect. Now typically these are not the kind of things I would maybe do on my website, but this just looks cool and I know a lot of people would like it. So that is why I said, all right, let me do something on it. Let's see how we can achieve this. One thing you'll notice here is that these are different colors, and so when you hover on this changes to red. All of them are the same color, normal, but on hover this green, this is blue, so they kind of correspond with the background color of this the circle behind the image. And then this is, oh, not exactly, this is not even yellow, this is dark gray, but this is yellow, and this is red. Now so on hover we have a text appear here and this image zooms in, but when you leave it, you have this image blends into what is sort of like a red background. Okay, so we're going to take a look at how to do that. I just want to say I did a little cheat. I just checked what they use for this, because at first I thought it was transparency, but then I realized it was a mixed blend mode. Now, one of the things that we'll not be able to do with the Bricks control, we'll have to write the mixed blend mode out, with CSS. So that's just it. The builder doesn't have a settings, except I'm missing something. The builder doesn't have a setting for mixed blend mode, so I don't think it has. Right, we're gonna check that anyway. So we're gonna be using classes for this, and one of the things I saw, one of the challenges is that when you're using classes, how do you make these different colors? So what I'm going to do is we're gonna use CSS variables to make sure that even though all these cards have the same classes, but they will all have individual colors, because we want to apply the color once and not to each of them. Let's see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to jump into Bricks now. I'm going to create a section, and then inside that section I have my container, and I want the container to be the parent of the cards. I'm going to come in here and just add, I'm going to do just 4 cards. I'm not going to do anyway, for the purpose of demonstration I want to do 3 cards to save time, so I'm just going to do 3 cards. Now these are called columns, but if you know the block element in Bricks, this is just exactly what you call a block element. So I'm going to give it this class. So what am I going to call this? I'm just going to call it my hover card. And then this is the problem, class names are kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, but yeah, you just have to find something. So I'm just going to call it cool card. Okay, so this will be my cool card. So I've already given that class. I'm just going to copy style and just paste here to transfer those classes to these other ones. Okay, so we've given that a cool card. Anyways, let's just delete. It doesn't make any sense to have let me leave that. I want to see how it looks on one, so I'm going to delete these 2 and then transfer the others. So what we have here is we have the card, then we have the image, and we have where the text is. So we're going to divide this into 2. We're going to have an image wrapper and a content wrapper. So I'm just going to insert a block here, and then I'm going to give that a block class of cool card. I'm using BEM naming convention here. So this is going to be cool card image wrap, and then I'm going to insert another block, and this is image wrap. So let me just rename that to image wrap. Yep, image wrap, and then this is going to be my content wrap. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a class of cool card content wrap. All right, now I have that. Now here I'm going to have my image. I'm going to hit to to download some of those images, so I will need just 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so perhaps I'll do these, and this. Okay, these. Okay, these, and this. Yeah, these, and this. So I'm gonna bring that in. So let me first of all, put my content. So here we'll have the image. So this is going to zoom in. Now you have to look at this. Now it is going to zoom in, and you see that it doesn't overlap here. So what are we going to use for that? Now if we use an image, it's just going to be straight forward and easy. But I know here that they use the background image, but for me to use a background image, I will have to put a div inside that image wrap and then give it a minimum height. So so let's say you wanted to use a background image just like the way they did. So if I right click here and then I look at it, you're going to see that, let me scroll down there. This is really poorly made. Honestly, it's not properly made. Anyway, so let's just focus on it. It's really not properly made. So you can see that this has a background image. Okay. And so let's just use the same, the same. But now one of the drawbacks of having a background image is that you can't make use of source set. That's the problem. So we're going to have this same effect, but let's adhere to good practice. So I'm not going to use a background image. I'm just going to drop an image element. Okay. So I'm just going to put image, and then I'm going to select that image. Now I want to select my image. I don't have that image here. I'm just going to quickly drop them. So I'm just going to take this one, and then I'm going to put it there. So we have our image. Let's see, this image has a background. Okay, so this image wrap, I'm going to give it a background of red. Now I'm just going to eyeball the colors. Okay, so let's see. All right, if we want to have the same color, dark red, so I'm just going to eyeball dark red. So I'm going to go to image wrapper, and I'm going to go to the background, that, and I'm just going to choose a dark red, something like that. Okay, now for this image, I'm going to give it a class of cool card underscore image, okay, or media, whatever. And for that, we want to give it a mixed blend mode. Now if I go to this brick setting and search for, let's say, mixed blend mode, filter. Now we have filters, but I don't think we have any of such things, so we're not going to use that. So we're going to go here and just say mix blend. First of all, you're going to say root, okay, to select the elements, and then open and close bracket. I'm just going to say mix blend mode. And I think this is just about the only let's just see, mix blend mode. How do you type that? Let's just mix blend mode CSS. Sometimes just forget this. So it's like that. Yep. So mix dash dash dash. I just want to be sure that I have that dash dash dash. Okay, so that is true. Mix blend mode. So I'm going to use multiply. Okay, so that but the problem with that is I don't think I want to use that, because let's say if I want to say root hover, so I'm not gonna get that smooth fading effect if I do it on the image. So instead of doing it on the image, I'm just gonna copy that out, but I want to place an overlay on it. But let's see, is it possible to have an overlay on the image? So I'm just gonna say apply to overlay, and then the CSS color, I'm gonna add red. Okay, so it's not applying. Apply to background, applying to text, so it doesn't apply. So nothing is really happening there. So I'm just gonna, to make it easy to target with the overlay, okay, with the hover effect, what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna drop a div, or I'm gonna drop in a div here. So I'm just gonna put a div here. So I'm gonna insert a div, and then I'm just gonna call that overlay. Okay. Yep. And I'm gonna give it a class of cool card image overlay, or let me just say overlay. And then this overlay is going to be on top of the picture, and there's no need to have for this to have a background of red anymore. So I'm just going to go and copy that color and then clear out the background from there, and then I'm going to give this overlay that background color. And then this overlay is going to be positioned absolutely on top of the image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the image wrap, and because I want to position this absolutely, I'll have to position this relative. Okay, so I'm going to go here and just go down to position and set it to relative, and then I'm going to select this, and then for the positioning I'm going to set it to absolute, and for the top it's going to be 0 0 0 0. Okay, so that covers it. And then we're going to go into the custom CSS and just paste that mixed blend mode. All right, so we have that. Let's see, darken. Okay, so multiply is it? So we're going to use that multiply. So let's see, yeah, something similar, but then I can now go into adjust that background color to see if we can have a brighter red. Okay, something like that. So I think we have something similar. So now it's going to be easy to target this with CSS. So if we just fade it out, we're going to have that. Now, because of the hover effect we want to do here, this, we don't want the image to overflow. So we're going to go to this image wrap and set the overflow to hidden. So this is visible by default. So I'm going to set it to hidden, so that when this image grows, so if I go in and then make this image with, let's say 200%, it's nothing is gonna, or if we go into scale this image, okay, so I'm just gonna CSS transform. If I go here and scale it to 2 and 2, you can see that it grows out and it doesn't overflow. Okay, so we're done with that. We're gonna move to the next one. So this one, the color is kind of like dark blue, so I'm just gonna take my color picker and pick this blue color. Just gonna copy it, and then I'm gonna go back in. So this is the content wrap, and the content wrap is let's just see, content wrap. Yep. So the content wrap is gonna be this blue color. So I'm just gonna put that blue color there. So we have the content wrap. I'm gonna drop in this and this. So let's see what they're using here. So what they're using here should be a H3. Yep, that's cool. And then we have a normal text. So I'm just gonna drop in a heading, and then I'm gonna drop in text. Okay, and so we have that, and I want to just take the name. Okay, so I can't really copy that name. I'm just gonna take it from here, copy that name, and put there. And yep, let's just get it over with. Okay, and what they did here was they did a break. Okay, so they actually use a line break. Now, sometimes using a line break is not usually a good practice. There are better ways that you can, but when you consider this, maybe a line break in this case is the way to go. So let's go with that. So I'm just gonna give it a line break. You can actually line break that. Let's see if we can do it from here. All right, so you can do it from here. So you have to put the break that. Okay, so for this, I'm going to go to the flexbox and center it, and then I want to give it some padding. Normally you want to give this a responsive padding. I'm not sure if I have I think I have ACSS here now. Okay, let me not confuse. I'm just gonna give it 2 rem. Okay, and then that's margin. Sorry, I have to put that in padding, and then I want it to apply everywhere. So we have that, but they seem to have a lot of Okay, I think that's basically about it. And then I'm gonna give this a class and this a class. Okay, so that is gonna be a cool card title, and then this is going to be my cool card, cool card text. All right, so that text, yep, that's the text there, right there. So I'm just going to copy that text, copy it, and then I'm going to put it here. Okay, now for this, I think it is possible to select the container and then apply a color, a typography color to, yep. But let's see if we want to really do that. Yeah, so the typography color is not changing except for the yellow where we have override that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and we'll face that when we get there. So we are setting the typography color for the cards from the content from the wrapper, so it inherits. Okay, and then I'm going to separate it by some space, and I want to separate it by I think I'm going to use yeah, I'm going to go back here, and then I'm going to use a row gap of, let's say, 2 rem also, so that should separate it. And this kind of, let's just, yep, this kind of wraps naturally. So all we need is to give it a font size that is big enough. So for that, I want my typography to be like maybe 2.4 rem. That is not big enough. All right, 3. And then this, I want my typography to be 2.4 rem. Okay, see, that's big enough, and I want it to be centralized. Okay, so we have that. Now, this is quite tall, and you could achieve that by giving it a minimum height. Okay, but the first thing I want to do is that I want to make sure that now we have the 2 columns, we have these. We have this, okay, and then we have these 2. Now what I want is to make sure that this always fills in the content, you know, the parent. So to make sure that it always fills, I want to go in and set the flex grow to 1 just to make sure it always fills. But then I want it to be much taller than this. So if you want it to be much taller than, you know, the content pushes it, you have to give it a minimum height. So let's try out 300. So 300 looks okay. And so you see, you have a lot of, I really don't like it. I don't know why I should have a lot of gap at the bottom here. Another thing that they may have done is not to give it a minimum height, but give it a bigger padding at the bottom, you know, so maybe give it 6 rem at the bottom. So I think I prefer that to the minimum height. So I'm just gonna save this. Let's see, look at the front end and see what we have so far. So yeah, so we have that, and yep, that's basically that. But we have border around here and drop shadow, so we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna go to, now this is I'm gonna call this my cool card. Okay, yeah, so I would remember. Now now the reason I'm keeping this 2 is because it's helping me to get the size. If I take it off, I'm gonna lose that size. Okay, so I don't want to take it off. All right, now I want to give this the card a border. So I mean, you could always type border or you go looking for it. Okay, so I'm just gonna type that border, and I want the color to be white. Okay, white, and style solid, and then I want it to be like 3 pixels everywhere. Okay, so I think that's sort of about the same. And then I want to do shadow. Okay, so box shadow, so I'm just gonna say 0 0. The blur, I want to maybe 3, and then the spread, let me choose a color, so black for now. So let's see what we have there. So we have black, but it's sort of you know, faded out. So I'm gonna give it a transparency, and then the spread maybe same 0. Okay, maybe 2, something like that. Let's make it transparent some more, just about something like that. So I think that's fine. So we finished building the card. That's a question. All right, so we're done building the card. So what we need to do right now is to do a hover effect. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to use what we want to do when we hover. What we want is when we hover, we want this image to scale. That's the first thing. So I'm going to select now when we hover on the card. Okay, on the card, remember look at what we have here. What we have here is when we hover on the card, anywhere on the card, we want the image to zoom, not when we hover on the image. So so we're going to use the pseudo selector, pseudo class. Okay. Now, if you come here, you see hover, active, and focus. Now, if we use hover, it's just going to affect only the card, but we want a situation when we hover on the card, we want to target the image. Okay, the image. So we need this class. So what is the name of that class? So I'm going to just go in and copy that class and go back to the card, and there I want to add my hover. Okay, we already have hover here, but I want to add mine because mine wants to hover and target the image, which is the cool card media. So I'm just going to hit enter. So right now we are currently editing this pseudo selector. Now what do we want? Let me deactivate the search. Okay. Now what we want is when we hover, we want to give this image you know, a transition. Okay, we want to give it a scale effect. So the transform, we're going to go to transform, and then we're going to go to scale. I wanted to scale 1.2, scale Y, and scale X. So I'm going to save that and then look at the front end. So you can see it scales. Okay. All right. So for some reason, it just for some reason it you know, it scales and then comes all the way to the top. So what I'm going to do is let's give this a Z index, the overlay. So I'm going to give that overlay a higher Z index. So I'm just going to go to layout, Z index, just give it like 5. And then for this image, I think the Z index should be, yeah, it should be default. So yeah, so that, you know, makes it not to, you know, go on top of that overlay. But now you see it's not smooth. We need it to be smooth. Now I think that is about the level. Okay, but we want it to be smooth. So what we want to do is we want to go in and give the image a transition. Now I want to give everything a transition, everything on this card. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to well, let's not do custom CSS for now. Okay, let's just go, and then I'm going to just type transition and CSS transition for the card. Okay, I'm going to just put 0.4 s, that's 0.4 seconds, and then I'm going to look at it and it's not working, and that's because this is still active. Okay, we have to remember to deactivate that. So I'm going to turn that off, deactivate it, and then give it 0.4 s because we were still editing the pseudo state. That is why. So I'm going to save that. Yep. Okay, and then you can see that we have now, when we hover on the card, these zooms. Now the next thing we want to do is to make sure that we set the overlay element to be transparent also. So what I'm going to do here is to select the overlay elements. I'm going to copy the class, and then I'm going to go back to the card. So when I hover on the card, I also want the overlay element to have an effect. I want to target the overlay element, this overlay, when I hover on the card. So we're going to go back here, and we already have one. So we want to create another one, and that will be hover, and then dot. We're going to paste the class for the overlay and hit enter. And then what do we want to happen? What we want is we want transparency. So transparency, opacity, that's what it's called. So the opacity, we want it to be 0. Okay, right now the opacity is 1. Now, unfortunately, I'm using the latest version of Bricks, and I think there is some bug, and we are not seeing the changes, the preview here. So if I save this and I go here, you can see that, you know, that takes effect, but we need it to transition. Okay, now I said I wasn't going to use custom CSS. I think it's much easier to just give everything a transition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out. I want to check if we have a general transition settings in the site settings, you know. So I'm not quite sure. I don't think we have it, and there's no search here. So I'm not going to waste time with that, perhaps. So there's no general transition. We have site layout, box, that, colors, content, content, margin, links, typography, pop-up. So there is none. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the cool card and go to the custom CSS, and then I want to write root, and then I'm going to select everything inside that card. So that means I want to put an asterisk. That means select everything and then give it a transition of 0.4 seconds. So I'm going to save that. So that should automatically apply a transition to everything. That means I don't need to set a transition for this image anymore. So I can just go and remove. So because that applies a transition to everything. Okay. So now for performance, you might want to define the properties. So we have transform and opacity, but we're going to also have background color. So, but let's leave it at all, since this is kind of like a beginner level, but beginners still need to learn something. So for performance, sometimes you want to define, so you can say transform, which is the scale is part of the transform. So you define transform, you define opacity, still give it 0.4 seconds, comma. So you have to separate it by comma, and you define background color. Okay, and you still give it 0.4 seconds. Now it's usually not very good to transition background colors. If you can avoid doing that, better. But then not that it's not good, but it's performance intensive, but you may not even notice it. So we have that. Now I don't even understand why is this saying. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to make sure that this text appears, so by default it should disappear. So we're going to come here to the text, okay, and then I'm gonna go to the opacity of the text. I like typing this, I like searching for it, okay. Yeah, sometimes to just find, so I set it to 0, and then I'm gonna copy the class, go back to the cool card and set another, let me deactivate the search, and set another hover pseudo selector hover. So when I hover on the card, target the text, and then set the opacity to 1. Okay, so I'm going to save that and let's see what happens. All right, but let's see what happens here. The same thing. Okay, so we're having that. Okay, so we have that, and I think the final thing we need to do is the background. So this background is kind of like the image. I don't have this, but I want to pick that color, but not necessarily. I'm just going to eyeball it to save time. So I don't want to start picking colors to waste time, but you can always pick the color. So what we want is to change this content wrap background color when we hover on the card. So I'm going to take the class name, copy. Now what I did here was to go to take that class name, I went to edit and then Control A, Control C. Okay, anyway, so I've taken that, and then I'm going to go back to the cool card, and I'm going to hover dot cool card content wrap, and this time we're going to target the background. Okay, so it's easy to find the background. So the background, we want to change the background to that okay, don't even know how to set that color. Okay, something like that. Okay, like I said, I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, so I'm gonna save it. Ooh, that's terrible. Okay, I give up. So I'm just going to come here and select. I want to check that color. Okay, I want to force the hover state on that card. All right, so I can pick the color. I'm gonna pick the color. By the way, this tool I'm using here is called Hoverify. It's a very nice tool. So let me just pick the color, copy it. Anyway, so just put it here. All right, save, and voila. So we have our card. So that is how you have the card. Now I'm going to duplicate that into 3. So I'm just gonna duplicate this. Okay, so we have 3 of them. So if I go here, you know, you have that. But then I want to replace this. So I want to take this lady and this one. So let's do that. So I'm going to come here, take the image for the second one. Let's see. Yep, this is the second one. Okay. I'm going to take the image, go to content. I'm going to just take that lady, and that lady, the background. Now the background is still let's finish. Okay. We're going to come back there. Now this one, we're going to take this, this lady. Okay. Which is this. Okay. So now how do we do it? Now we have different backgrounds. We need this to be orange, but we're using a single class. So what we're going to do is to go back to that cool card, any of them actually. Let me collapse everything. Now any of this, we're using the classes, so it doesn't matter which one you choose. So make sure that this is turned off. Okay. Select. Now I always remember to deactivate this you know, this pseudo state. I kind of don't like the way Breaks implement this. As soon as you go out of it, it should deactivate the way Oxygen does it. But so a lot of times you may forget. Anyway, so the cool card, then I'm going to activate it. Then I'm going to choose for the content wrap, which we targeted the background. Okay. So let's go to the background. Now I am going to just copy this color out. But what I want to use here is a CSS variable. So I'm just going to say var open and close. I'm going to say dash dash wrapper bg. So that means wrapper background. Now it's just a CSS variable. It's not going to do anything. So if we go to the front end, you see, did I save it? Okay, it's still behaving. I mean, I don't know. Cool card content wrap. Yep. So that is what we're changing, the background. I'm not quite sure why it is still clear. Let me see, black. Let's save that. I just want to be sure why it is for Christ. Okay, it has changed. Okay. All right, so let's clear this. Okay. I'm going to clear that and save it again. All right, so so now we've cleared it. So it was some catching issue. So I'm going to write that again, var wrapper bg. Now nothing is going to happen because the wrapper bg is not defined. Now I'm going to go into each of this and define. So for this first one, I'm going to go to the custom CSS. Now for this, okay. For this content wrap, I'm going to go to custom CSS. Always write root first, then open and close your braces. And then I'm going to define that wrapper dash bg. For that one, the color is going to be that color, that yellow color. Okay, so let me just copy the whole of that. And then I'm going to come here to this one. Now notice that I'm defining that on the ID level. Okay, so content wrap, this was class. I'm going to copy that out. That was class. So sorry about that. I have to deselect the class. You know, if you click here, it means you've selected the class. Click again, I deselect. I want to define that on the ID level. And then I'm going to come here again and define this on the ID level. For this one, it's going to be yellow. All right, so I'm just going to say, honestly, I just hate the waste of time. You know, I wish I could find that color somewhere else. But I just have to, you know, simulate. Okay, so I was able to find some of these colors here. So I think this yellow is this one. So I'm just going to copy it and then I will replace this. And then the next one we're looking for is the green, sorry, the red. So I'm going to take this red and then I'm going to go here. Make sure you're not selecting the class. And then I'm going to paste the whole stuff here and paste that red color there. So I'm going to save it. Then let's go to the front end and see what happens. So so we have a wrapper bg set to this content wrap, but then when you go to the card, a cool card, let's see, cool card, card content wrap background, it didn't work because the value was not valid. So we're going to try it again. Var dash dash wrapper bg. Okay, so let's save that and check out the front end. It's still not working. So this doesn't accept CSS variable. Oh, sorry, that is a mistake. We have to go to raw and then put it there. Yeah, so I'm going to save that, and then you can see that that works. So that is the mistake I made. You know, to put a CSS variable, you need to you know, change it to raw. You need to go to the raw tab to put it, and now you can see that that works. Now let's look at it if there's anything we've missed. Okay, so the last thing is the shadow. Now the good thing is the shadow is on the card, so we're just gonna edit the position of the shadow. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the card, make sure it's selected. Okay, you see if it is not selected, you won't see that class name there, but if it is selected, you see the class name. And then we're going to go to the shadow and we'll go to hover. Okay, this has to be active. Actually, it was still active, but then it has to be active. Hover. On hover, first of all, let's deactivate it. We're going to see what we have here on the box shadow 0032. Okay, but on hover we want that box shadow. Oh dear, let me turn off on hover. Turn that off. Let's I just want to get the value here. The transparency was 0.21. So we're gonna bring that up a little bit. So let's just try that. Okay, on hover, the box shadow is gonna be, now I don't want it to be 0 again. I want to be like 5, or let's just say like 8. Then the blur 5, spread still 3. The color is gonna be black, and we're gonna just something like that. Let's see if it's okay, something about that. So we're gonna blur it a bit more. Damn, that's crazy. The bricks interface sometimes can be really annoying. Let's make it too much. Okay, so something close to that. The bottom, so I'm just gonna save it. Yep, and then so the shadow seemed not to be affected by the transition because we were setting the transition, you know. Well, if you go onto that CSS, what we did on the card, the cool card was, let's see, we set the transition for all of them. Okay, all right. So the problem with this hover state, you know, you have to remember to deactivate it. I really do not like it. I really don't like it. It's not intuitive, you know. Once you are out, once you're done with whatever you're doing, and you know you're out and you click something here, it should deactivate, or you give us the option to choose. Okay, so I'm going to come here. So we had set transition for all the children, but we didn't set transition for it. So I'm just going to set the transition. I'm going to remove this, okay, that asterisk, so it can set transition for itself also. So I'm going to save that, and then it's still not working. Oh yeah, that's because the transition that we said was specific to this. So I'm just going to remove all this, and then I'm going to write box shadow. So I'm setting transition specifically for box shadow, and voila, we have that thing. So let's see, did we get it? Yes, we got it. Yeah, just like it is here. Of course, if you want to change the, you know, if you want to change the text color, let's say this one for the yellow, we want to change the text color for the yellow. We could do that. We could create, I'm trying to see how we can do that with a CSS variable. Okay. Now we could actually do that because let's see, the text color, we didn't actually do anything to it. So I'm just going to say title. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go to the card, over, and then I'm going to just write hover and then put in that text. And what we want to change is the typography color. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to raw. I'm just going to say, should change it to var -- title color. Okay. Now I'm going to just copy that variable name. And then I want to put it also for all of them. So if I click this and then go here, you see nothing is changing. But if I go to that yellow, okay, the one that has the yellow, and go to the heading, and then I'm not gonna put it on the class. I'm gonna put it on the ID. So I'm just gonna say root, and then I'm gonna put that variable name, and then the color I want it to be black. Okay, I want to save that. So you can see that these other ones do not have colors defined for them, so they're just nothing changes. But this has color, but we need it to also fade in. So we're going to go back to the cool card, and then we're going to add comma. We're going to add color. Color means the text color, 0.4 seconds. Now you might wonder, okay, why don't we just do all? I guess we could just leave it as this default. Okay, so if you put that, it means all of them. Okay, so let's just leave it at all. So you can see now that it fades in. Okay, so if you want to reduce the transition duration, you can always reduce it. Maybe it's a 0.06. So make sure you just reduce all of them. Now it's not really nice to write the same thing like that. Okay, so you could just put a comma here and just put root, and yep, and then delete this. So that takes care of, so you're selecting both the children of the root and the root, and just do that. So you see slower. So if you want it to be faster, you make it maybe lesser, like maybe 2.5. It's not 25, it's 2.5, you know, so 2.5 is smaller than 0.6. 0.25 is smaller than 0.6. Mathematics. So so you see that is going to be faster. It's supposed to be faster. Yep, it didn't save. So you see it's fast. Okay, so yeah, but I prefer it at 4. I usually prefer mine at 4. And good. So what do you think? Do you think Bricks is up to the task? Do you think that was awesome? If you think so, well, please hit the like button. Okay, I assume you already know how to set up your cards. Okay, so this is my container, and then I want to stretch this. I want all of them to be at the same height. And then for this, of course, you want to make sure that your images are the same height. But if you're not sure your images are the same height, then you want to go in and give it you want to go in and restrict the height. You want to give it a maximum height, or give it a certain height. So let's say 300 pixel. Okay, doesn't actually make sense to do that if you can make all your images, but it's obvious here that these images are not the same, are not exactly the same height. So if I go here and I think you can see that this is actually different from these two. I mean, they are not properly done. But I think I may have taken the wrong image. So I just noticed that I took the wrong image. So this should have been the right one for it. So yeah, my mistake. So let me put that. Yep, and all I need to do is just to click save, and that updates. All right, so that looks good. So all the images are the same height. So that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that your images are the same height. Okay, so nothing missing, nothing broken. So this text, this one is supposed to be black also. So we don't even need to set any transition for it because it's hidden. So for that, we could just go in and edit it. Now you wouldn't select the class, you edit it on the ID level. Okay, so what we're going to do is just set it to black. Just going to set it to black because it is not showing anyway. So that is it. So you have that. Okay, so go ahead and smash the like button if you want to see more tutorials on how to set up cards, solve common problems with cards. Check out the top right corner of the screen, and also the cards that you're going to be seeing at the end of this video. Until next time, have a great day. Bye.